welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark. All right, welcome in. It is the Field of 68 After Dark on this Monday night. Just a couple more days in January, which means February right around the corner. And right after that, it is the beautiful, mythical month of March. So we are getting close by the day. The games are getting bigger. Tonight, pretty decent Monday. We got a big game going on as we speak on the West Coast. The Big Ten entertained us. And in the ACC, got a little dicey there in Durham for a long time. But Duke prevailed there in the second half. Great to be here today. I am Chris Childress. Randolph Childress, the legend, is with us, as is the wordsmith CJ Moore. Wonderful to be with both of you guys. We will start in Durham. Little crazy game in front of the Cameron Crazies, pun not intended there. But I'll tell you what, Duke found a way in the second half. They certainly rallied in a big way. They struggled shooting from the outside, did not matter. Now, what really stands out to me when I just look at the box score and I watch the game tonight, Duke 28 free throws as opposed to NC State's 7. NC State was 6 of 7 and Duke was 24 of 28. But they out-rebounded the Wolfpack 42-27. They did what they had to do. Raced by him in the second half, 74-64. CJ Moore, what say you about Duke's win and their sluggish start, but big rally there in the second half?
Oh, I think when you're significantly better than your opponent, sometimes you come out and maybe aren't as focused as you need to be. And I thought second half, the Blue Devils came out really guarded and, played more like we're used to seeing them play. Cooper Flagg took the initiative to take the game over. I do think NC State showed like some areas where Duke is maybe vulnerable if you play them with a lot of physicality. I think we saw KJ Adams in Kansas earlier this year. Like, it takes a very physical four-man to slow Cooper down. But I do think he has gotten better as far as his mid-range game, creating off the bounce than he was doing earlier in the year. And that's something we saw as this game progressed. And it was just, too much talent from Duke. NC State started really hot and eventually cooled off.
Got a little worrisome, RC, early, a little worrisome.
No, it's a rivalry game, man. They played Duke and NC State the last two games, right? And guys know this. When you get into those rivalry, I know Carolina's coming up, but when you're playing these Big Four games, you're gonna get their best. And NC State, they played against two really good defensive teams. I mean, Wake and NC State get after you on the defensive end of the floor. They do it a little differently. State probably pressures you a little bit more. State came out hitting shots, man. They were bombing away. But what's so unique about this Duke team, and we've talked about point guard play and all this other stuff about them, is they are an elite defensive team. When they decide to lock in and they make the adjustments and they're to guard you and how they're going to guard you. I know they're playing more zone these last couple of games instead of chasing everybody around, but they held the State team to 27 points in the second half, and they're not going to lose many games like that. You're going to have to score to beat this team. They don't have to have the best offensive nights. Actually, their signature, what's so special about this group is it's on the defensive end of the floor. They're young. They're led by young players, but they're led by young players on the defensive end. And as long as they keep defending like that, they're going to be right there in the end. I think they're going. There's not a team around in the ACC. I've said this before. They'll get the best. They're playing these close games, but I think until they play someone, maybe Clemson gets them on the road. it'll be a road game. I don't see anybody coming into Cameron and getting the win. I just think they're too good defensively. They go on these big runs. Just a typical Tobacco Road Big Four game, in my opinion.
Well, and they showed CJ in the first couple of minutes of the second half that they weren't messing around. They just roared right back and made that a close game, and then ended up winning it by 10. Cooper Flagg tonight, 8 of 17 from the field. He was 11 of 13 from the free throw line, did a lot of damage from the charity stripe, 7 rebounds, 28 points. I want to ask you guys, so we are sitting here right now, we're getting close to February. So, we're well past the halfway point of the season. We're getting close now to where we can start talking about how many bids and seeds and all that kind of stuff from these leagues, and where's Duke going to be when it's all said and done. My question to you is this, and you kind of alluded to it, and I wanted to dig a little deeper a minute ago. You said something about it, but Cooper Flagg, when he first started playing for Duke, we were certainly excited to see it. That big game early on against Kentucky was a showcase game, and they lose that game. Then they, play Arizona, and he looks great. And, Cooper's been everything we wanted him to be coming out of high school. He's a highly recruited kid. He's somebody that everybody couldn't wait to see in a Duke uniform. But what have you seen from that first couple of games, really specifically Kentucky and Arizona and Kansas, from where he is right now? I mean, the talent's always been there, but is there anything noticeable that's different about his development, in your opinion?
I think it's his jump shot. I think he's progressed and is just more comfortable out there on the floor, on the perimeter from the mid range. He's obviously came in and was talented right away, and he could probably do these things before, but it takes a little while, I think, to adjust to the physicality, the speed of the game. I just think he's more comfortable getting to his spots. I think John Shire's probably done a better job as the season's progressed of putting in positions where he can really succeed. And, when he has space and, they do a good job setting some big 4 or 5 ball screens for him. When he gets to his spot, it's, if he's making his shots, he's pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah, I think the game slowing down for him is one thing. I think he's seeing it. He's always seen the game really well as a facilitator and a player, but I think the game's slowing down for him. And I think they're just picking their matchups with him. If you try to put a big physical guy on him, they're going to run 4 or 5 ball screens on him. If you put a smaller guy on him, they're going to run a screen, get him in the post. If they want to dictate matchups, they'll have him come up, set a ball screen for one of the guards. So they're dictating the matchups. There's not a guy you can just put on him and say, hey, you're going to guard Cooper the whole time, because there's just too many ways. He's too versatile of a player, and there's too many ways. And I think they've kind of figured out how they want to use him and how they are using him. And more importantly now, they've seen all the defenses that you're going to try to implement against them. And by now, they've been able to see it, and they're able to make adjustments to it now. So he's just impacting the game, man, in so many different ways. He's fun to watch. He's running away with this. He's living up to the billing, and that's something that's not easily said for a kid who's coming in with all the hype that he's had. I thought the hype was there before his game had gotten there, and he's delivered it. He's exceeded the expectations, I think.
I've always wondered that, Randolph, when you have so much expectation. We talk about this with athletes all the time. I mean, at Texas, there's a Manning that's about to take over a quarterback for the football team, and that comes with a pressure. Cooper Flagg, the second he signed with Duke, and everybody, knew that guy was the next big Duke phenom, it came with a pressure. And certainly big NIL and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. But what is that like? I mean, you're Randolph Childress, for God's sakes. I mean, big-time basketball player. To deal with the pressure of everybody expecting you to be great.
Hey, I don't have that. I've never had that. Let me be clear with you. I've been around it. I'll say this. During that time.
What a crush with NIL.
Yeah. Oh, shit. I wish I could get some of this NIL money. Don't get me started with that. I definitely wanted that. But no, I mean, you're around guys like that, and you see it. It was just different then. But, I mean, listen, he's delivering. I think that's the main thing. I mean, a lot of guys are getting NIL money. He's worth the price of admission, and he's going out and he's competing his ass off, and he's worth it. And I think that's the biggest thing about it is you hear so much conversation about it with him. He competes every time he walks on the floor, and you see it. He's just getting better and better. So, uh, teams have tried to attack him in different ways, and like I said, they just figuring it out. They're playing well. They have the nation's longest losing streak. I think they'll lose a game eventually in the ACC. Again, I don't know when that is, but they're getting tested. I think these are good things that come out of it. Finding other guys, other people are stepping up. But again, I'm a big fan of this Duke team. I think they'll be a number one seed. I think the only question is, will they be the number one overall seed when it comes to the tournament? I just don't think that there's enough to test them. I think they'll get enough conference games that'll give them a good enough look. I think they got Illinois sometime next month. We'll see them then. But defensively is just why I say I'm so high on this group. Their defense is going to travel. Wake was ready in game, and they just can't score enough. Like, how do you score enough against this team? I think as much as we talk about Cooper Flagg's versatility, it's Duke versatility on the defensive end that has them where they are. And like I said, when this guy is competing the way he is defensively and his versatility on both ends of the floor, it's not always flashy, but it's just efficient.
Field of 68 after dark. Chris Childress with Randolph Childress and the great Mr. CJ Moore. Let me ask you this, guys, because we talked, and tonight's our debut on Sirius XM. It's our first show of the season on College Sports Radio 84. So earlier today on the channel, I do my show with Rick Neuheisel called Full Ride, and we were talking about this game. We were previewing this game with a couple of writers that were coming on today. We had Fran Fraschilla and I forget who else, but it was somebody noteworthy. And it's been a long day since we had that show. It was like 12, 13 hours ago, But anyway, we talked about NC State, and Coach Neuheisel brought up. He's like, what's up with Kevin Keatts? What's the deal? Like, this team went to the Final Four. DJ Burns. It caught us. It made us all dream, right? It was fun. It was exciting. It was one of those things that kind of got us all wrapped up in the moment. And the deal is, now in college basketball, everybody kind of resets. You got to think that in the moment you could take advantage. You could kind of parlay that momentum. You could use it with NIL. You could use it with your boosters. You could use it in the portal. Why are they so bad? I mean, Miami's a disaster, but they're kind of right there near the bottom of the ACC. What's going on there, fellas?
For me, I'd say they're not as bad as their record. They've had some heartbreaking last-second loss. They lost at the buzzer to Carolina. They lost at the buzzer to Virginia Tech. They led this game, and they played Duke to the toughly in Cameron. So part of that is that's a question that I would go. I would even wonder about the school. He doesn't have a score. One, this isn't the team that he had a year ago. He doesn't have a bucket getter. You're talking about a guy that had DJ Horn, Jaquavian Joyner, Jaquel Joyner, Taquavian Smith. He's always had guards, a bucket getter. He doesn't have that. So this team is going to struggle a little bit because of that, the way their team is built this year. But I wonder from an NIL perspective, I mean, what does that look like? I mean, did he receive any extra money and benefit from that?
He should have, right? I mean,
well, you would think that
if NC State's doing this right, they need to.
My question, that's not Keats.
Right.
We were talking about Keats. My question would be,
yeah,
where's the money going? We can't act like he can't identify talent or he can't get out. But the question is, did he get enough NIL money to go out and get those guys? Like, he didn't forget how to coach. He didn't forget, what it took. He didn't forget what talent looks like. So that's a question that I would say. I would wonder about Keats. I don't know. I can't speak for him about that. But they've lost some heartbreaking games, and this team isn't as talented as that team was not even a year ago.
If that's even the case, though, shame. I mean, for shame, right? Honestly, because you just went to the Final Four. You're so sick of being a little brother in Tobacco Road. You're always being compared to Duke. You're always being compared to Carolina. I mean, you just had this great magical moment. It was, the first, everybody was comparing it to Valvano and the Magic. I mean, this is an opportunity. Take advantage. Kevin Keatts out of nowhere made the NCAA tournament, made that run in the ACC, got in the tournament. What are you doing? If you're not doing your part.
My comment would be he did it last year. You're not going to be more talented year in and year out than Duke or Carolina. You know, you're not just year in and year out. You're going to have a year. They had a year last year. You're going to make a run with it. You know, Duke is Duke. They're going to be where they are. Carolina's kind of been in this ebb and flow these last couple of years. NC State, Wake, and those schools, you just got to pick your moment. Every now and then you're going to get a year. You got to maximize it and go. But right now, there hasn't been any staying power with either one of those programs right now to think that they surpass Duke or Carolina. You're always, quote unquote, going to be little brother to those programs. Those two are the top 5 schools in the history of the sport. I mean, in the sport. So that mentality is there. But whether NIL money, that's the NC State thing. I don't see where the money's being spent on that roster in totality. I don't see that.
Yeah, it wasn't like they went out and got name guys, and if it weren't for the fact of them going on that run, if they don't get hot in the ACC tournament, there was probably going to be a coaching change.
True that.
So, you know, if that was the case, were the donors really lining up even after that run? I can't speak to that. But I do know that they were ready to get rid of him.
Yeah.
That was pretty well known in college basketball circles.
It's like Ryan Day in Ohio State, and it just kind of gets weird when they keep winning. Like Keats did last March. Let's talk some Big Ten. Speaking of Ryan Day in Ohio State, the basketball team beats Iowa tonight, 82-65. Michigan beats Penn State, 76-72. And UCLA gets one over their cross-city rival USC, 82-76. Let's get into that game. Michigan gets a win over Penn State. They kind of needed it. When you looked at this past weekend, rather, on Friday night, they get boat raced by Purdue. Purdue was coming off a loss to Ohio State. Kind of one of those, all right, guys, gut check kind of games for Purdue. They responded. Michigan kind of needed a little boost. They got it against Penn State. They needed, I think, a 9-0 run at the end of the game. CJ Moore for Michigan, Dusty May. They've won 2 of the last 3, a little up, a little down. Overall, not bad. Where are you on this Michigan team coming out of the game and the win over the Nittany Lions tonight, sir?
Man, I want to believe. I really do. That you watch this team and you catch them in certain stretches and they look great. And they controlled most of this game. Like they led most of the way. They'd gone on like a 9-0 run. You really thought, okay, the game's on. And this is the same script for almost every Michigan game, except for, maybe that Purdue game on Friday when they got boat raced. But usually they go on a run. You think they're about to take control. They're looking good. And then here come the turnovers. Here come maybe a quick rush shot. And all of a sudden it flips. And they were really, really close to losing this game. I think Penn State went up 4. I think you just said it with under 2 minutes. And, you got to credit Trey Donaldson. He made some terrific plays. Dusty May took a timeout with like 12 seconds on the shot clock that I think with about maybe a minute 30 or so left that really turned the game because he was able to draw something up that get a dunk. And then, Michigan goes on from there. But this is a team that, I really like their pieces. I love the inside duo of Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. Vlad was sick tonight, and he obviously wasn't himself. But, I like some of their wings. Trey Donaldson's playing the best ball of his career. But, man, sometimes they're hard to trust because when they start turning that thing over, it's almost like a golfer that's got the yips. Like they just –
yeah.
They're thinking about it all the time, and it's almost like they know they shouldn't, they know they can't, like they need to not turn it over. But man, once they start turning over, they come and they come and they come, and it makes them a hard team to trust. But I really like them at other points.
When they play, what was they do with Wolf and Golden? Man, they have so much length around the basket, but you can attack them off the bounce with your ball screens, attacking switches, and making those guards guard you on the perimeter. And then you're able to get shots up on the glass. Their guards you're catching them in cross matchups. Their guards are guarding your bigs, and so on and so forth. I thought they were dead in the water. Credit to Michigan for pulling this out. I thought Penn State had stole one. I thought they had won in Michigan and Auburn stole one. Up 5, and then credit to Trey Donaldson. I mean, what he did, he came out and I thought he was part of a play earlier where he got a steal, a big moment in the game prior to Penn State going up, and he came down and took a shot. And I thought I would have liked to seen, Golden or one of those guys, other guys, touch it. But when it mattered, man, give him credit. I mean, that three he hit was big. That step back three, they were clutch and coming back. Obviously, they closed the game with a 9-0 run. Credit Michigan for it. I really thought they were dead in the water. They came back, made the plays. Penn State, I thought they rushed that three at the end. You're down two. Would like to have seen Ace Ball and kind of make a play to the rim. If they had some type of play designed, I'm okay with going for a three to win on the road, but it just looked rushed. It wasn't. It didn't look like they had a play design right there. So people are going to say whether or not it should have been a call timeout or not. I'm okay with letting your guys play. I probably would have liked to have seen them maybe run something that gave them the option of a three or a two and not just settle from a Ace Ball and pull up three. So, but it was a hell of a game. Credit Michigan. They are what they are. I mean, it's a gutsy win when Vlad Golden is sick. He didn't look like himself, but man, credit to Michigan for pulling that out. I thought they were dead in the water. It took a lot of composure for them to come and pull that one out.
Yeah, no question about it. It was a great win for the Michigan Wolverines. When they needed to, they found a way. They raced by him at the end. They finished on the 9-0 run. You mentioned Trey Golden tonight. He had himself, or Trey Donaldson rather, had himself 21 points, 7 assists, 4 steals. Did what he had to do. And this Michigan team now 7-2 inside the Big Ten. Ohio State whipped Iowa 82-65 inside the Big Ten. Thornton finished with 15 points and 8 rebounds. And UCLA beat USC 82-76. Both those results certainly mattered for UCLA. They're 6-4 now in the league. For Ohio State, they're 4-5. The Buckeyes have now found a way to win the last couple of games. CJ, they were in a lot of close games, and they just kind of couldn't punch through the glass ceiling. They've done that here recently. They had that shocking win against Purdue. Apparently, gave them a little confidence, and it carried over tonight in a big way against the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is one of those teams that I had to pick today for the Athletic. I had to pick some teams that are going to be bubble teams that could be dangerous in the NCAA tournament, and Ohio State was one that I put on there because there's a couple days this season where the Kentucky game, even tonight the way they played against Iowa, beating Purdue last week, like this team can play with just about anybody. I like the guard play. I love Bruce Thornton, and John Mobley is one of the best shooters in the country. When their bigs show up, and I thought they really dominated the paint. I don't know how many offensive rebounds they had tonight, but it felt like a lot. When their bigs show up and they play with the level of physicality that they played with tonight, that was just too much for Iowa. And this is a team that can be sneaky if they get consistent, better play from their inside guys. I thought they got it tonight.
I mean, credit to these guys, man. They've lost some tough ones. I mean, you lose some close games, man. Oregon and Indiana and Wisconsin, and then you come out and then you're able to get one against Purdue. They're right there. They're in these games. They just needed a couple to go their way. Everything that they want to accomplish is still in front of them. I mean, they're a team now that can string along a couple of games and put themselves without question firmly in the tournament. There's the talent there. I think when they play with a level of physicality and toughness that we've seen from them on the defensive end of the floor, I love their activity today. I thought Sean Stewart gave them some really good minutes. He was active. His athleticism showed through, getting on the defensive end, out getting steals, getting out in front of the break. They have all the pieces when everybody's healthy to make a run to put themselves in it. And if they defend like they did tonight, I always struggle for making threes. We know they're built on the offensive end of the floor. They're going to win games when they make double-digit threes. They don't get enough of those. They don't defend well enough to beat a team like Ohio State right now. So they just took care of business. I thought they were even further ahead than even the score indicated as the game was winding down. Iowa made a couple shots, but big win for Ohio State. They needed it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just about finding ways to win and getting that mentality of learning how to win, learning how to close a game. And I mean, they did it against Purdue, and they didn't need to learn how to close out tonight. They just played good basketball. They played a good 40. And I think you could see Jake Diebler's team growing a little confidence. That program, Ohio State, been lost in the wilderness now for a little while, going back to the end of Chris Holtman's tenure. So good to see Diebler having some success here the last week or so. Let's take a break. We will come back. We will get into some overreactions. We got some doozies that people have sent in. We'll do that next. It is the Field of 68 After Dark on this Monday. You're also listening on SiriusXM College Sports Radio, Channel 84.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
All right, we're back here. It is the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live here our first night on SiriusXM 84. We welcome you in. I'm Chris Childress alongside CJ Moore and Randolph Childress. We just got into some of the big games tonight in the Big Ten and in the ACC. Let's talk now about the big picture. Let's kind of go into some overreactions. It's an Overreaction Monday. We get people that send us tweets and some crazy stuff on X from time to time. And we're going to examine some of these thoughts that we get from people. We got a doozy to start with here. And let's get into this one because I thought this one was outrageous. But what the hell, gentlemen? Let's entertain this anyway. And here it is, the overreaction. And again, we just talked about Duke, and this team has already beaten Duke. So it's kind of absurd to think about. But the overreaction from Christian Rich, Kentucky will be on the bubble by the end of February. So that would be in exactly 1 month. Randolph Childress, overreaction or no?
Who said this? An Arkansas fan? Like, who sent that in? Like, really? Really?
It was actually John Calipari's burner.
Yeah, it's his burner. It's John Calipari's burner
Yes.
account. That's where that came from. That's probably this wishful thinking, man. Like this unless there's some injury, and unless they get something stronger than the flu, like the plague or something that's just going to wipe out the whole team. I think Kentucky will be firmly in the tournament, man. A bubble team, I find that hard to believe. I can't.
Well,
I can't imagine they'd fall off that much to be a damn bubble team.
Let's change it up because that's ridiculous.
yes.
But
By the way, Field of 68 right now, we have a new bracket that has them as a 4 seed. So it would take a crazy plummet and fall off a cliff. But go ahead, CJ.
they are probably about to be 3 and 4 in the SEC because they got to go to Tennessee tomorrow night. So that's hard. That's rough. I will say this: a couple of weeks ago, another high major coach told me. I told him I was going to Kentucky, and he said, "I bet you if you told Mark Pope right now, and this was before their 2-game losing streak. He said, I bet you if you told Pope right now, he said, how many games do they play in the SEC? They play 18. He said, I bet if you told him right now, you're going to be 9-9 at the end of the SEC, he'd take that. If you hooked him up to a lie detector test or whatever, true serum. And Ken Palm right now does project him to go 9-9. RC, what do you think? Is that an overreaction that Kentucky would Mark Pope would accept 9-9 in the SEC? Because we know how good that league is.
I don't think he would accept it, and I wouldn't bet my life that they wouldn't go 9-9. I mean, the league we know what the league is, but I think they'll do a little better than that, right? I think they shoot it well enough with that with their level of experience. So I don't think 9-9 is something that's in the cards for Kentucky. I'm not saying that they're going to be, one or two games better than that. I think they probably will be. I think they'll get to double-digit wins. I mean, is it 11 wins? I think maybe 11, 12 wins will be ideal. I think that's where they'll end up. What we've seen from them so far, and tomorrow will be tough. They're going on the road from a Tennessee team that just took an L on the road. Winning on the road is going to be hard, that league. But they shoot it well enough that they'll scare the hell out of anybody. They'll have their moments. Tomorrow probably won't be one, coming off a loss with Tennessee. But that's just what that league will be. And but I'm not ready to say that their tournament bid or whatever that is, that's overreaction. That's ridiculous. But I can see with someone saying like what your point is them struggling in the league. Because that person is saying that they're going to lose. They're losing a really good team, so they won't hurt them at all. Those won't hurt them much.
Yeah.
They'll be firmly in the tournament no matter what they finish up in the conference play. But I do think they'll be a couple of games above 500 in that. They won't be 9-9. I think they'll be, 11-7 or whatever it is, something like that. 12, so I think 12-6, maybe a little more than that, because the bottom of the league is really, really good as well.
They have lost 2 in a row. They have one loss at home and one loss on the road against Vanderbilt this past weekend in Nashville. Alabama was the home loss. That Alabama team's offense is sometimes can just explode.
And they got homecoming after Tennessee. After Tennessee,
exactly.
They got homecoming. They got Arkansas. So
yeah,
I mean, they're gonna get that
turned
one.
Up for that
Cal
one.
coming to town.
They're gonna be fired up. They're gonna be fired up for that one. And then so let's say this, EJ, and we're talking about Kentucky right now, and the overreaction was they're going to be a bubble team by the end of February, which we think is crazy. But let's say they are 9-9. Let's say that you suggested that if you could get them behind closed doors, he would accept that. What would that get them? 9-9 gets them what in the NCAA tournament?
So they'd be 20-11. Let's say they win a game or two in the SEC tournament. I don't know. They're probably at least still like a 5 seed, right? Like, because they have such good resume wins, they're still probably at least a 5 seed. So I have a hard time seeing them drop below like a 5 or 6 at the worst, maybe. So they're still going to be in a decent spot, and they are a team that they've shown on when the shots are falling, they can beat a Duke. They can beat a Florida. They can beat really, really high level teams when shots are falling. So they've got their weaknesses. Not the best defensive team, but they understand who they are. They've got old guys who play for each other. It's a really good team. I have a hard time seeing them slip into a spot where they would be a bubble team.
Hey, I'm looking at their schedule, right?
Go ahead.
They are for the rest of through February. They are playing only 1, 2, 3 opponents that are not ranked, and that's 15-4 at Oklahoma. That's 14-6 at Texas, and that's South Carolina coming into Kentucky the 8th of February. Other than that, they're playing a ranked opponent. So, whether it's Ole Miss, whether it's outside of and then Arkansas, we just talked about that, but that's a lot of games and a lot of ranked opponents. But again, that's the league. I mean, it is what it is, and they're going to win their fair share. I think they're just slightly above a 500 in that league is what I'm saying. I think they're toward the top half of that league, and I think they'll be better than 500. That's all. I think 9-9 is the bottom. If there was an injury or something like that, as long as it wasn't away or if it wasn't Carr, I think they can survive it.
But definitely an NCAA tournament team.
Oh, shit, top 5.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to our next overreaction here. And we just saw them play today, and they struggled early, but had a great second half. They outscored NC State 41-27. Cooper Flag, 28.7 rebounds. But the overreaction is this, that Duke will be out in the round of 32, and that's from Jeremy Fears Truther.
Truther.
Truther, whatever. I like Truther better, actually. But Mr. I guess CJ, since you're giggling over there, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, CJ.
I mean, that's obviously an overreaction. From the truther. It's the NCAA tournament. Anything can happen. We've seen awesome one seeds lose in the second round. So anything can happen. So if we're saying an overreaction, doesn't mean we're saying there's a 0% chance that it will happen. But I think Duke is one of the most teams that is not susceptible to upsets because of what Randolph was talking earlier tonight, the way they guard. Like even in games where maybe the offense is struggling, maybe the guards aren't making shots, somehow you take away Cooper Flag. This team is going to guard. John Shire has shown now he kind of has a change-up in his back pocket with the zone. I have a hard time seeing them lose in the first weekend just because defensively that should be able to carry them through even if the offense isn't going.
Yeah, I think that's a unlikeliness to happen because of the way they defend. And I'm curious to see someone just say, hey, Cooper Flag, I'll let you get yours and maybe defend the other guys or maybe try to lock down the other guys. I think he's just too versatile, right? I think he's too difficult of a piece to try to lock down. I mean, you can put your best defender on him. They just have his versatility in the way they use him. They're going to put him in 4 or 5 ball screens, and you're going to have to switch that. And if you don't, Malawatch is going to get a lob, dunk. If your wing rotates over, he's spraying into the corner. They're getting corner threes. Now you're getting everybody involved. So if you put a guard on him, he's going to post him up, elevate over him, shoot over him. You put a big, he's beating him off the bounce. So trying to focus on everybody's got to have to guard him, but you're not going to be able to put one guy on him because of the many ways that they use him to get him going. So I think someone eventually you'll just maybe focus in on the other guys. Just try to put a good defender on him and just say, hey, let's just stay between him and the basket, allow him to take jump shots if he settles, which he doesn't. But hopefully you can get that day if you want to pull off the upset. But no, I don't see that happening. The likelihood of that happening will be slim and none because of the other guys, and particularly by then they'll get Malik Brown back. I think that's one of the reasons with them you're seeing more zone these last couple of games because Malik Brown is out and he's one of the more versatile defensive guys in the country and what he brings to that group. So I think you'll see them be even better on the defensive end when he comes back, and it'll be particularly in their man-to-man.
Maybe if somebody spikes their Gatorade, like it might have happened tonight, the big fella got sick. If everybody has too much Gatorade, maybe they'd be in trouble.
Everybody's been getting sick in the world of basketball lately. It's been crazy. We're talking about Duke and the overreaction about them losing in the second round. I could easily see it happen. I mean, it's certainly a young basketball team. When you get in a situation in the NCAA tournament, you got a short turnaround. God knows who you're going to be facing up against. I mean, could it happen? Sure. Is it likely to happen?
Cut it out. Is that your burner account? Is that your burner account?
That short turnarounds after a 16 seed.
You're the truth.
100%.
That's your burner.
You get a buy. They get a buy game in the first round.
What I was going to say is that I would not bet on it, but I was literally looking at my TV set and I saw Fran Fraschilla up there, and we talked about this morning. Every coach you talk to always says you want to be old. You want to be old. That's who wins in this tournament. So could a young team lose in the second round? Sure. I know you guys are.
Listen, no. Under normal years, I agree with it. But that's where I say Cooper Flag is different. You usually don't have a freshman that compete the way he does defensively on an IQ level in this verse, and they figured that out with him. So freshmen usually aren't this good on the defensive end of the floor. Malawatch is a problem. He's kind of that Derek Lively guy, right, defensively. So they're not just normal freshmen. They're freshmen that are elite defensively. And that's why this group is different. They can weather the valleys and the peaks and valleys that come with young teams. And so you're seeing that right now. They're not playing well offensively. They're struggling right now. But you got to beat them with Wake. Wake scored how many points? 50. What they scored? 59, whatever it was. And then
like
State
that.
was 64 today. Like that. Those aren't points you're gonna. With them struggling, you got to put up more than 64 points to beat them. And that's when they're not struggling. So that's why and their versatility defensively. I just think you're not going to come up and play them as a 14 seed, 15 seed, or something like that with small ball because of their ability to have Malik Brown at the 5, Cooper Flagg play 5. Like you can't small ball Duke. Like that's what you get away with. Some teams, there could be a matchup problem when they got a traditional big, like with Malawatch is just the only center. You can have a pick and pop big, but that's not a great idea because he's athletic enough to guard on the perimeter. So they're just different, and that's why this group is. I get what you're saying. You want to get old, you want to stay old, but damn it, if you want to be young, I'd rather have a Cooper Flagg.
You want to be
Yeah, I want a Cooper Flagg when I'm young.
Sure, you want that. Let's get to our next overreaction of the evening. This comes from our producer, the wonderful Dagan, and this is about the SEC. Right now, in the field of 68, in the recent bracketology, we have 13 bids for the SEC. The overreaction is the SEC will actually get 13 bids when it's all said and done. CJ, overreaction, or do you think it actually is pretty accurate?
Here, I'm trying to count right now. That's an overreaction. I think I bet 12 is the absolute max. So I say 13 is an overreaction. I'm counting them in my head right now, looking at their standings. That would have Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Vanderbilt all in. I have a hard time seeing all of those teams making it.
Who's in the most harm's way of that group? You don't? Go ahead.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Because
you think all those teams will make it?
I think they got a great shot. I think Oklahoma will make it. I think Georgia has a shot. I know they dropped a couple. I think Texas has a shot. 10 teams are ranked in the top 25. Forget just getting in the tournament. They got 10 teams ranked. So
I just think one of those teams is going to take so many losses. You know, I don't know. It could happen, but I'm just saying. I bet if I were to guess, I would guess 12. I bet one of those teams falls out. Like I bet Texas, even though I know Texas is playing better lately, has won 3 of 4.
Texas and Georgia. Texas and Georgia would be the teams that I think has to. LSU with an outside chance. I think Arkansas. I can't see it with Arkansas losing Boogie Flag. I thought what he was to that team and what he's meant to that team is not. I think Oklahoma will get in. I think that what they've done early in the year, let alone what they'll do getting a couple wins in conference play, they had as impressive a start as anybody. I think they'll be that the 10 ranked teams. They'll be the 11 for sure. Whether it gets to 13, I think it's just Texas and Georgia. And we know Georgia's got some big wins. Yeah. Texas will figure it out. I mean, if they can keep it going and get a couple of bigger wins, then we'll see. But I don't think it's an overreaction. I think it's close. It's definitely going to be at least 12. So just to say, hey, one more, I can't question it. I can't say that's far stretched. That's not like the truther.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was just saying, if we're doing over under, I'll take the under on that. But it's a good line, right? Like it's probably a push. That's the line. Who knows?
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
12.5 is a line, and it's you're taking the over to the under. I'll take the under.
All right, Chris Childress, CJ Moore here, and the great Randolph Childress. Field of 68 after dark on a Monday. One more overreaction, and this one I'm really curious to hear what you say. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say not overreaction. St. John's will advance the furthest in the NCAA tournament from the Big East. I love him right now. I love him on both sides of the floor. RC, overreaction, or is that pretty spot on?
I don't think that's an overreaction. I always say with a coach like Coach Pitino and their style of play, they press, they get after you. The only thing you can't count on for St. John is are they making shots, and you can't rely on that going into any game per se. But again, they're a team that's built on the defensive end of the floor, and you don't, in the tournament games like that, no one in the tournament has more experience in those games and those big games than Rick Pitino. So I wouldn't bet against that. I think this year I can see them winning a couple of games. I think their downfall will ultimately be when they struggle making shots, which is not consistently 3-point shooting is not St. John's strength. So they'll exit the tournament when they when they struggle from the 3-point line. Be that simple.
I mean, I think they're going to struggle from the 3-point line probably in every single game in the NCAA tournament.
Well,
but their defense is good enough that they could go on a run. I don't think it's an overreaction. I mean, it's probably between them and Marquette at this point, right? Two teams that are really, really good defensively, really pressure you. I think St. John's has one of the best 4 defenses in the sport. I think it's them, Tennessee, Houston, and Duke would be the best 4 defenses in the country. They are so switchable. They're kind of like Duke in the way that they're like just such great positional length. They have really, really turned it up on that end of the floor. Rick Pitino has these guys playing how he wants them to play. I do think that they are going to struggle probably shooting the ball in almost every single game in the NCAA tournament just because they don't have, their best guys aren't great shooters. But man, they can really guard you, and so I'll buy it. I'll say, I love Cam Jones, and he's a guy that could take Marquette on a run by himself. But I think it's those two, and this is the one that I'll buy the most as far as not being an overreaction. So let's go with it.
I'm
so you're
right
all.
there with you.
I didn't hear you mention UConn. So we're
I didn't.
UConn,
yeah. I mean, UConn could definitely make a run too. Liam McNeely, when he gets healthy, they're a different team. But they are basically the opposite of St. John's.
Right.
Great offensively, bad defensively. So, I mean, they're one of the 3 too. But I like St. John's and Marquette. I just trust those 2 teams more.
And the best effing coach in the country at UConn. Let's take a break. We will come back. Hopefully we'll have a game in the Big 12 to recap a doozy that's coming down to the wire. We'll do it next right here. Field of 68 After Dark.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Hummel podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
All right, we're back here. It is the Field of 68 After Dark on this Monday. We are on Sirius XM College Sports Radio 84 tonight for the first time. this season. Great to be here. Chris Childress with CJ Moore and Randolph Childress. We got a heck of a game coming down to it. In Arizona right now, in Tucson, Iowa State up by 2, 70-68. Heck of a game. Iowa State certainly been one of the better teams this season. This would be a big deal if Arizona could knock them off and improve to 8-1 on the season. Right now, Iowa State with the lead. When you look at it, Randolph Childress, I see you shaking your head. You must have seen something just play out. Your thoughts on this game so far?
Oh, man, I thought Arizona had an opportunity there, down 3 to get a quick 2 with a ton of time and maybe stretch the game out there. When you take a 3 like that, they were lucky the foul was called and they missed one. They tried to get the free throw. Now it's officially over, man. Iowa State's tough. They got it done. It's 2 seconds left. I think the game will be over with unless some miracle happens.
No timeouts. No timeouts.
Yeah, they can't advance it.
That's tough.
A great win it'll be.
I say this: I'm always big on stringing the game along, man. When you take a shot like that, you decide the game. When you take a 3 down 3, when they inbounded the ball, it was like 12 seconds left. So I don't know what play.
2.2. Do you miss this on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Well, and the reason I say that because guess what? Your big man gonna rebound it. He gonna try to look for a guard, and he gonna throw it 80 feet. So if a 90-footer goes in, see, now you get a chance to run a play.
Yeah. Yep.
And so now you make a shot. You're up 3. Now they get to run there. Everybody runs their little full court execution.
They didn't run a good one. Oh, he made it. Holy shit.
Oh, my gosh. You're kidding me. Holy living hell. No way.
They got it to Kevin Love.
You missed the damn free throw.
Oh,
I agree. But they didn't run a good play. They didn't run a good play. They just got a miracle.
You don't let them run a play. We just said it.
Yeah. I agree. You miss it.
How in the living? Well, we got overtime right now in
Wow.
Arizona. We were hoping the end of the game would have something to recap and put a nice bow on things, but Arizona said, "Nope, I'm going to shoot one from 3/4."
And I'm telling you,
of the court.
We got an interview.
Wow. Oh well, let's get to an interview right now that we have, and it's a great one. Craig Robinson is the head of the what's the name of the organization again? It is the National
NABC.
Basketball.
NABC.
Yeah, that's right. The NABC. Craig does a great job with that organization, and our guys caught up with him earlier today. Let's take a listen to the interview with the great Craig Robinson.
Wow. Since 1993, coaches have collectively come together and using their platforms have raised over $160 million for the American Cancer Society. And we've shared the same goal with the American Cancer Society, which is ending cancer as we know it for everyone. And we just celebrated our 30-year anniversary with Coaches versus Cancer just last season. And it's been incredible to look back on this initiative and fighting cancer. And I don't think there's any other sport that sort of unites collectively behind a charitable cause the way college coaches have. And you guys know it. You guys have been around this. And this Suits and Sneakers Week is my favorite thing that we do. It's something that gets exposure because it used to be because all of us wore suits and nice shoes. And then this week we'd wear our sneakers with our suits. But now that you've got most people not wearing suits, coaches have really gotten creative in jazzing up their sneaker wear for the week. So it's for a good cause. And, we highlight cancer screening. We want as many people to get screened as possible. It's just been a great cause, and we appreciate you guys supporting us on this.
How can fans help? How can they contribute? What can they do? Is it just as simple as a reminder to go get yourself checked and go make sure you get to the doctor?
it's just awareness is as important as funding. Like, so there's always, you can always go to make a donation to the American Cancer Society and say it was because of Coaches versus Cancer, but 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women face a cancer diagnosis these days. So cancer screening for people without symptoms is so important. And screening tests are available all over. And we just want people to get out and get screened as often as, at least first and foremost, and then tell their friends and family to get screened too.
I'm going to give you complete control. I'm going to give you complete control right now. You're the czar. You are the czar of college basketball.
Sounds
Be
risky,
the
man.
first thing
Sounds
that you're
risky.
doing, Craig. What is the first thing you're doing?
The first thing I'm doing is probably what the NCAA is doing. Is the first thing I do would be call my labor attorney and see if there's a way to somehow do collective bargaining without the players, the student athletes being employees, because that seems to be the sticking point. And I know that would be the first thing I'd do if, for in the show. I mean, there's 15 other things that I would want to do too.
15, that's it?
15 number one things, right? And then there's another 15 number two things. But
Yes.
I would want to explore that, because I think in any chaotic environment, you got to find a way to calm everything down and get to a point where you can sort of work at getting to the proper answers. And to me, I feel like that would be the way to go is hey, let's take a 2 to 3 year period and figure out how we want this to look. And then I'd call in everybody. I'd have commissioners, I'd have coaches, I'd have a couple of student athletes, I'd have somebody from the NBA maybe, or and I'd have network people. I'd make the tent a little bit bigger and say, hey, look, we've got this wonderful thing called college basketball and the NCAA tournament. How can we optimize this?
That is NABC Director Craig Robinson. Time for our toast of the evening. I'm going to start this college basketball tonight. Arizona, Iowa State, off the charts. We had that crazy game at the Jungle on Saturday. Auburn and Tennessee. The product is awesome. College basketball, you kick ass. Toast to you. Who's next, boys? We got a little bit under a minute. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with
Randolph.
I'm going to go with a Dai Mara today with UCLA. Stepped up, played well.
Love it.
Tyler Bilodeau was out of the game, man. He stepped up, gave him great minutes, played the most minutes, really productive, and in a rivalry win again for the Bruins. So, cheers to you, bro.
They found something with him.
Take us
I mean,
home,
we got to
CJ.
go Caleb. Somebody's got to go Caleb Love, right? Holy crap, he just hit one of the shots of the season. So, Caleb Love, here's to you, man.
Toast to you. All right, thanks, everybody. It's the Field of 68 After Dark. Thank you for listening.